She fell asleep in row 11. Then the captain's terrifying announcement woke everyone up. Sarah Jenkins had never liked flying. At 34, the Australian primary school teacher from Perth had crossed the planet more times than she could count, mostly to visit her sister in Vancouver, but every takeoff still felt like a small betrayal of gravity. On this December evening, Qantas Flight 72 from Sydney to Los Angeles was just another red-eye she wanted to sleep through. She'd taken the window seat in row 11, slipped on her noise-canceling headphones, swallowed half a melatonin, and let the engines hum her into darkness. She dreamed of the ocean back home, turquoise, endless, safe. Then a voice cut through the dream like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain." A pause. Too long. If there is anyone on board who knows how to fly an aircraft, any pilot, any training at all, please press your call button now. We need you in the cockpit immediately. The words didn't make sense at first. Sarah pulled off her headphones. The cabin lights were dim, but she could feel it. Every single passenger was awake now, staring straight ahead, breathing through their mouths like frightened children. A baby started crying 3 rows back. No one shushed it. Sarah's heart punched against her ribs. She looked left, an elderly couple clutching hands. Right, a teenage boy filming on his phone with shaking fingers. Across the aisle, a businessman in a navy suit had both palms flat on his tray table as if he could hold the plane together by sheer will. The intercom crackled again, quieter this time, almost broken. "Please, we've lost both pilots. We don't have much time." Lost both pilots. The phrase floated in the recycled air, impossible and obscene. Sarah closed her eyes. She saw her father's face. Mark Jenkins had been a crop-dusting pilot in the wheat belt. From the age of 5, Sarah had sat on his lap in the little yellow Piper Cub while he flew low over golden paddocks, letting her hold the yoke on calm days. "Feel her breathe, darling," he'd say. "She's alive, just like you." By 12, she could land the thing herself on the dirt strip behind their farmhouse. At 15, she soloed. At 19, she had her commercial license. Dad had cried the day the examiner shook her hand. But life happened sideways. University, a teaching degree, a safe classroom in the suburbs. The pilot's license lapsed years ago. She hadn't touched a yoke in 13 years. She told herself she'd left that world behind. Too many memories of Dad dying in a silly crash on a perfect blue day when she was 22. She had stopped flying because every takeoff reminded her of the one person she couldn't save. Now the plane was at 35,000 feet, somewhere over the Black Pacific, and 281 souls were waiting for someone braver than they were. Sarah's hand hovered over the call button. She thought, "I'm not qualified. I'm not current. I'll kill everyone." She thought, "If I do nothing, we all die anyway." Her finger came down. Ding! The sound was tiny, pathetic against the roar of the engines, but every head in economy turned toward row 11. A flight attendant appeared almost instantly. 26, maybe 27, eyes red but steady. "Ma'am, did you... Sarah unbuckled with fingers that didn't feel like her own. I pressed it. The attendant's lips trembled. "This way. Please, God, this way." The walk to the cockpit was the longest 40 meters of Sarah's life. Passengers reached out as she passed. Some grabbed her sleeve. Some just whispered, "Thank you." Some simply stared, as if she were already a ghost. The cockpit door opened. Captain Daniel Reed was slumped forward against the yoke, oxygen masks dangling. First Officer Amira Khan lay unconscious across the center console, pulse the ready. A flight attendant was performing CPR on her in the tiny space. The relief pilot, who should have been resting in the bunk, was nowhere. Later, they'd learned he'd had a massive stroke 20 minutes earlier. The aircraft was on autopilot, but the autopilot was about to disconnect for the approach into LAX in less than 90 minutes, and the fuel was getting tight after a late departure and strong headwinds. Sarah slid into the left seat. The yoke felt both foreign and home. She clicked the intercom, surprised her voice didn't shake. "This is Sarah Jenkins in the cockpit. I haven't flown in a long time, but I'm rated on light aircraft and I did my multi-engine endorsement years ago. I'm going to need every one of you to stay calm and quiet so I can concentrate. We're going to get this plane on the ground." She didn't know if she believed it yet, but saying it out loud made it fractionally more possible. She called Los Angeles Center on the radio. A controller named Mike came back immediately. Voice calm, professional, but Sarah could hear the tremor underneath. "Qantas 72 Heavy, we see you. We have fighters scrambled if you need a visual, and every runway at LAX is yours. Talk to me, Sarah." For the next 1 hour and 43 minutes, the world narrowed to altimeters, airspeed indicators, and Mike's voice in her headset. She hand flew the Boeing 787 like it was an overgrown Cessna, feeling every quiver of the massive jet the way her father taught her to feel the wind over wheat. Passengers prayed in dozens of languages. A doctor from Toronto kept the first officer alive with chest compressions in the jump seat. A little girl in 24C drew a picture of a kangaroo wearing a pilot's hat and passed it forward row by row until it reached Sarah. She taped it to the glare shield where she could see it. When the autopilot clicked off at 10,000 feet, Sarah's hands remembered what her mind had forgotten. The plane responded like a living thing that recognized an old friend. Cleared to land on 25 left, the longest runway in the western United States, Sarah flew the ILS with tears streaming down her face because the glide slope needles centered exactly where her dad always said it would if you trusted the airplane. At 50 feet above the threshold, she pulled the throttles to idle, flared gently, and felt the mains kiss the concrete with barely a bump. Only then did she let herself cry out loud. Fire trucks raced alongside, lights flashing red and white in the dawn. The plane rolled out straight and true. When she brought it to a stop and set the parking brake, the entire cabin erupted in sobs and screams and applause that shook the fuselage. Paramedics rushed the flight crew. Both pilots would survive. Sarah stayed in the seat until the very end, running the shutdown checklist from memory and muscle memory older than grief. When she finally stepped onto the tarmac, the Los Angeles sunrise was painting the sky the same impossible gold it used to paint the wheat belt paddocks on summer mornings. A reporter shouted, "Ma'am, what's your name?" She looked straight into the camera, hair wild, uniform shirt soaked with sweat and someone else's tears. She said, "Sarah Jenkins, just a teacher from Perth, who once upon a time learned how to fly from the best pilot in the world. This one was for you, Dad." 281 passengers walked away that day. None of them ever forgot the woman from row 11 who refused to let the sky take any more of the people she loved. And somewhere over the Pacific, on every Qantas flight that leaves Sydney at night, there is now a small brass plaque above seat 11A. It simply reads, "She was asleep until she wasn't." In memory of those who rise when falling is no longer an option. December 7th, 2020.